Bobby Fulton is one of those names that true wrestling fans never really forget. If you followed wrestling back in the day, especially in the 1980s and early 90s, you probably remember the Fantastics. They weren't just another tag team. They brought something different to the ring: energy, excitement, and heart. And at the center of all that was Bobby Fulton. Now here we are in 2025, and Bobby's nearly 64 years old. You don't hear his name in the mainstream much anymore. There's no Hall of Fame ring on his finger, no major documentaries on Peacock. So today we're asking, where is Bobby Fulton now? Before we dive into the present, let's rewind a bit. Bobby Fulton was born James Hines in 1960 in Ohio. Like a lot of kids growing up in the Midwest back then, he fell in love with wrestling early. But Bobby didn't just want to watch it, he wanted to be in that ring. And he didn't wait long. He was still a teenager when he started wrestling professionally. Not many guys can say that. Bobby paid his dues the old school way. He worked small towns, set up rings, and took bumps night after night just to earn respect. His big break came in the early 1980s when he teamed up with Tommy Rogers to form the Fantastics. Together, they were everything fans loved: clean-cut, athletic, and fast-paced. They didn't need to cheat to win, and they didn't shout into the mic. They just showed up and put on a show. They had legendary feuds with teams like the Midnight Express. If you were around during that time, you probably remember those matches. The chemistry was unreal. The energy, the storytelling, the crowd getting louder with every move. It wasn't just wrestling, it was magic. Like a lot of wrestlers from his era, Bobby didn't exactly ride off into the sunset when the 90s came around. The wrestling world was changing, the territories were fading out, TV deals were taking over. And a lot of wrestlers, even the popular ones, had to figure out what was next. Bobby kept working. He didn't go to the WWE full-time, but he never walked away from wrestling either. In fact, he built something of his own. He started his own promotion, World Classic Professional Big Time Wrestling. It was a small operation focused on old school wrestling, the kind that fans who grew up in the 80s still missed. Bobby brought in legends, young talent, and tried to recreate that old feeling. It was personal to him. This wasn't just business. This was a way to keep the world he loved alive. But things haven't been easy. In recent years, Bobby's health has taken a serious hit. In 2019, Bobby Fulton was diagnosed with throat cancer. For someone who had made a living speaking to fans, cutting promos and being heard, this was a major blow. But he didn't give up. He went through treatment, fought through the pain, and after a tough journey, he managed to beat it. For a while, things seemed okay, but the fight wasn't over. In late 2024, Bobby shared heartbreaking news. His cancer had returned. This time it was even tougher. Along with cancer, he also started dealing with heart complications. For a man approaching his mid-60s, these weren't small issues. Many fans thought he would finally slow down, take time to rest, maybe step away from the spotlight for good. But Bobby wasn't ready for that. Instead of walking away, he doubled down. But this came with a price. World Classic Professional Big Time Wrestling, the promotion Bobby created and ran with pride, started facing serious heat around late 2024. What was once a feel-good revival of old-school wrestling started becoming a place of rumors, complaints, and some serious accusations. The heart of this controversy? Bobby's own son and co-owner, Dylan Hines. Dylan had been working closely with his father, not just in front of the audience, but also backstage. Together, they tried to keep the promotion running, bringing in old-school names, hosting live shows in small towns, and connecting with die-hard fans. But by the end of 2024, things took a turn that no one saw coming. Several wrestlers and crew members started speaking up online. Some said they were not paid after shows. Others mentioned issues like fake contracts and being misled about appearances. And slowly the noise became louder. What made this even more serious was the fact that many of the complaints weren't directed at Bobby himself, but at Dylan. Some alleged that he was taking money and not delivering on promises. There were talks of forged documents, screenshots of messages, and a lot of backstage drama that spilled out into public view. This controversy grew so much that Dylan ended up stepping away from the wrestling world entirely in January 2025. Just like that, Bobby Fulton lost his right-hand man, a person he trusted, worked with, and loved deeply. It wasn't just a business fallout, it was personal. Fans were torn. Some blamed Bobby, saying he should have kept a closer eye on things, Others defended him, saying he was being dragged into something he didn't control. After all, Bobby was dealing with health issues too, a recurrence of throat cancer, heart complications. This wasn't a man with the energy to fight legal fires or social media wars. Still, the damage was done. A major big-time wrestling event planned for March 2025 was quietly canceled. No big announcement, just a slow, awkward silence. The kind that hurts more than a loud goodbye. Through it all, Bobby didn't go online to rage or defend himself. He stayed mostly quiet. Once in a while, he'd post something about faith or about how he wasn't giving up. Those who followed him closely could tell. This was a man hurting deeply, trying to hold on to whatever was left. You'd think that after all this, Bobby would finally step away from it all. Let the business go. Rest. Heal. Focus on family and health. But no, in July 2025, Bobby Fulton was still in the game. He showed up at an event, suited up, shaking hands with fans and doing what he's always done, keeping the spirit of wrestling alive, not just as a promoter, but as someone who loves the business deep in his bones. Despite his ongoing battle with throat cancer, and after several hospital stays for heart-related issues, Bobby Fulton refuses to disappear. You can tell by his social media that he's tired, but he's also incredibly strong. He keeps saying he's trusting in God, that he's grateful for every day, that the show must go on. At almost 64, Bobby might not be taking bumps in the ring, but he's still calling the shots. He's still organizing events, working with local venues, and trying to give upcoming talent a place to perform. You'll find him talking to young wrestlers backstage, sharing stories, giving advice, encouraging them. That's his way of giving back. People in the industry who've known Bobby for years often say one thing: he's real. He's never pretended to be something he's not. He's made mistakes, sure, but he owns up to them. That kind of honesty is rare in this business, and while his brand isn't what it used to be, Bobby's name still carries weight. Fans still come out to see him. They still cheer when he steps into the spotlight. He may not headline the shows anymore, but his presence is what makes it special. In fact, one of the most touching things in recent months has been seeing how other wrestlers have stood by him. Some of his old friends from the NWA days, independent wrestlers, even newer stars, all have shown him support. Through tweets, through appearances, through kind words. Wrestling, for all its drama, still has a heart. There's also this growing appreciation for legends like Bobby, especially now. Younger fans are starting to discover what the older generation already knows. Guys like him built the road everyone else walks on. In one of his interviews from early 2025, Bobby said something that really stuck. He said, "People keep telling me to rest, but I rest when I sit with the fans and watch the matches. I rest when I pray. I rest when I remember how far I've come. But quitting? That's not in my blood." That right there, that's Bobby Fulton. Still pushing forward, still holding the mic, still shaking hands with fans, still showing up when it's easier to stay home. The world might not be watching him every day anymore. He may not trend on Twitter, but in community halls, gymnasiums, and state fairs across America, Bobby Fulton is still standing tall, still giving people a reason to believe in wrestling, still reminding everyone that even at 64, legends don't fade away easily. So where is Bobby Fulton now? He's still here, still fighting, still loving the business that gave him everything, and took a lot too. And as long as there's a ring and a few fans to cheer, he's not going anywhere. That takes a different kind of strength. Yes, Bobby had health issues, throat cancer, heart problems, major surgeries, but every time people thought he was done, he came back stronger. Not always physically, but with more love for what he stood for. Honesty, hard work, and respect. He's not in the Hall of Fame. Maybe he never will be. But for the fans who remember watching him live, or for the young wrestlers who got a chance to talk to him backstage, or even for the people watching this video and learning about him for the first time, Bobby's legacy lives on. Thanks for sticking around to hear his story. And hey, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It really helps us bring more of these untold stories to light. Subscribe for more real, raw stories from the world of pro wrestling. The kind that don't always get the spotlight but still deserve to be remembered.